Mentorship is the heartbeat of transformation because life could be more if we had the right guidance at the right time.
Okay. When you talk about inclusion and leadership, they are two synonymous things or concepts. As a leader, you'll want to include everybody. You'll want to see that everybody is included in you.
A single conversation can change a life, redeem time, and transform someone's future.
Even at home as a parent, parents will want to have an inclusive home where everybody feels included. So when we talk about inclusion,
So this week on MOYO, we are honored to host Julius Ogayo, a scholar, advocate, and a Global Fellowship awardee whose journey redefines how we think about inclusion, excellence, and leadership. A Fulbright, Commonwealth, and Chevening scholar, Julia shares reflections on education, access, resilience, and the responsibility of systems to be inclusive by design. The conversation challenges the assumption that disability defines limitations. More so, moves from narratives of limitations to focus on what becomes possible when opportunity meets excellence. Julius, welcome to MOYO. I'm happy to have you here.
thank you so much.
Just before we dive in, I just want to get to know what conversations of inclusion and leadership mean to you today.
Okay, when you talk about inclusion and leadership, they are two synonymous things or concepts. As a leader, you'll want to include everybody. You'll want to see that everybody is included in your team. Maybe if you are a manager or you are a community leader, or maybe you are a political leader, you'll want an inclusive society. That is a society that is well represented and everybody feels part of that particular society. Even at home as a parent, parents will want to have an inclusive home where everybody feels included. So when we talk about inclusion is a matter of making everybody feel part of that particular society or part of a team. And it comes handy, especially when you are in a leadership position. You want to ensure that everybody that you are leading, be it from an household aspect, from a community aspect, from a country, or maybe an organization, that everybody feels part of that particular team.
That's
Yes.
great. That's good to know. So, having known you for a while,
Okay.
I have to say Julius is one of the most confident people I've
Okay.
met.
Okay.
Julius, welcome to MOYO. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Just before we dive in, I just want to get to know what conversations of inclusion and leadership mean to you today.
Okay, when you talk about inclusion and leadership, they are two synonymous things or concepts. As a leader, you'll want to include everybody. You'll want to see that everybody is included in your team. Maybe if you are a manager or you are a community leader, or maybe you are a political leader, you'll want an inclusive society. That is a society that is well represented and everybody feels part of that particular society. Even at home as a parent, parents will want to have an inclusive home where everybody feels included. So when we talk about inclusion is a matter of making everybody feel part of that particular society or part of a team. And it comes handy, especially when you are in a leadership position. You want to ensure that everybody that you are leading, be it from an household aspect, from a community aspect, from a country, or maybe an organization, that everybody feels part of that particular team.
That's
Yes.
great. That's good to know. So, having known you for a while,
Okay.
I have to say Julius is one of the most confident people I've
Okay.
met.
Okay.
And we're both alma maters of American University.
Yes.
Yeah, just let's know how early growing up, how was growing up for you?
Okay, I think for me, I grew up like any other child. Because when I started going to school at around the age of 5, I found myself going to school with the same people, my brothers and people who were staying within the community and the estates where my parents were living. So growing up, I grew up as any other person or any other child. Being a person with disability, and this is very important, and I think it's something that I think will come up as we discuss, is that I did not go to any special school.
Oh,
So
really?
I just went to any other school, the normal school that everybody was going to. And I think this was very, very instrumental in setting me up and giving me the ground or the grounding. Because I developed disability when I was 8 months old.
Okay.
It was through an accident. But in the process, my parents brought me just like any other sibling. So I grew up with them. I went to the normal schools where my brothers and the community members were going to. And so for me, the issue of disability is not kind of a matter because from childhood, I was oriented like any other person. Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
And what values really and experiences, given that you're a very confident person, what values and experiences have contributed to you being that confident? And also, who believed in you before the world saw your potential?
That's a very interesting and important thing. I think these values, or the values that we are talking about, or what made me to be confident, I think it's just that home bringing. That cultivated the person who I am today. Because I think for you to have a strong foundation, I mean, maybe something that can be said to be a good life, you must have some strong foundation. And that foundation came from my house, my parents, my siblings, and the children whom we grew up with, whom we actually played with, we went to school with. So from that particular early childhood stage is where I developed the confidence that you are talking about. Yes, because for me, I was just like any other person, any other child, playing with them, the football, those childhood plays that everyone has gone through that particular stage. I went with those particular, my brothers and my sisters and everybody else in the community. So there is where I developed my confidence or maybe my leadership skills and all those particular things. And if you talk about maybe the people who saw that particular, who believed in me, I think my family believed in me. My parents, they believed in me and they gave me that particular, any other thing that they gave to my brothers and sisters. And the society from which I grew in also believed in me. My peers, my friends and my brothers and sisters and everybody else in that particular surrounding also believed in me. They took me as any other person, as one of them. And so that made me to be who I am today.
Well, that's interesting because you talked about going to school, same schools as any other child.
Yes.
And I know there are special schools, right?
Yes.
And also mingling and integrating yourself with every other person.
Yes.
And at that time, as a child, did you see your abilities different? And has that changed right now?
I didn't see my abilities different because, as I said, and this is very important, the type of environment and socialization that children are brought up in determines a lot in their future. So that is what makes them to know who they are and develop skills to make them who they be in the future. So that socialization and the way I was brought up actually is what has informed who I am today. And just to be clear, I think it's very important, especially at the childhood development, that parents and people who have got the caregiving responsibility be very careful on how they manage their children, and especially children with special needs or children with disabilities or things like that. Because if you make them to feel part of the community, and if you make them to develop to be with any other person, then that particular kind of environment instills in them or give them the opportunity to grow and to develop life skills just like any other person. I think the leadership qualities that maybe I may have, started at that particular age, at that particular time. Because if I can remember, I was a leader even within the estate teams. I was a leader at that particular age of 8, 9, 10 and things like that. Going up to youth after the high school, I was elected a youth leader in the community and things like that. So it started just right at that particular point.
That's interesting, because a lot of people, when they see people with disabilities, they view them differently. But I love the way you've brought out the fact that even the community itself didn't see you differently. They saw you as part and parcel of them. The other thing I've heard from you is the importance of parents and also the people around you, how they contributed to your confidence, because they build your confidence. They didn't see you as any different. They treated you as one of them.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, given the fact that you went to school, like you were you went to a normal school, like any other child. Do you feel like the schools lacked systems where there was inclusion, especially when it came to people with disabilities or any other kind of aspects of inclusion?
Okay. Yeah. Before I answer that, just to clarify something, I think what we have talked about. You see, we cannot run away from the fact that there are people who have got different opinions and who view people differently. Those ones are there in every community, from households, even from within the households, coming to the community and every other thing. You'll find them everywhere. People have got different opinion on everything, and even attitudes toward people with disability. That is common. It's not even towards people with disability. Like here in Kenya, we have people who have got different attitudes toward different tribes, different religions, and things like that. So those are things that are in the society. But I think what made me to kind of overcome all those things was the support I was getting from my family. And also it reached a point where, like, for me, I was not focused on any other thing. I was focused on what I was doing and the things I was doing to make myself better. So people might have different attitudes and perspectives of life and towards very many things. But for me, those did not matter. What mattered to me was what I was pursuing and what I was doing. And then now coming to your question about...
Just to say that, like, it's very interesting you bring about attitude, because that's something you come across, not just as in different ways. I think of gender, I think of race. These are attitudes you will come across. How did you overcome that?
Yeah,
that's interesting, because we can all learn from you.
I think just as I said, people I've got sometimes it's called unconscious bias. Sometimes it's called just people have got their formed opinion about each and everything and type of things and things like that. So for me, what has been carrying me through is that I give so much attention to what I'm doing to better myself, not what people are thinking and what people are saying. So when you have that kind of a mindset, you are able to focus on what you want to achieve and how to better yourself. Because people will always talk positively or negatively about you. Whether you are good or bad, those ones are there.
That's true.
Yeah. So if you want to focus on what people are saying, if they're saying good things about you, well and good, but you should not also pay much attention about them, but rather focus on what you want to achieve and what you are doing. If they're saying negative things about you, well and good, focus your attention on what you are doing so that to better yourself or to better your community or your society. That is what matters. What any other person is saying or doing should not concern any person. Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we can circle back to what you were asking before. Like, what was your experience navigating through the education systems, especially that were not designed for inclusion?
Yeah. Okay. If taking into consideration my nature of disability, I can actually do anything that any normal person can do. And so at that particular time when we were going to school, very many schools were not inclusive.
Okay.
But I found myself managing because for me, I can, like for example, climb stairs, maybe walk to school and do I don't use any walking aid or something like that. So I can basically do everything. But I've seen challenges that people with disabilities have. And especially in the past where most of the education facilities were not inclusive. Even up to date, they're still not all that inclusive.
That's true.
Yeah. And so people with some various forms of disabilities find themselves or have found difficulties coping with the infrastructure and the systems that are in place in various learning institutions. Case in point, just recently when children were moving from grade, was it 9 to 10?
Yeah.
There was actually a debate of a student who was denied admission at Lenan High School because the principal felt that the nature of disability or the infrastructure was not conducive to support such a student. And the student, after some, I think, consultation, they ended up admitting him, yes, but these particular challenges have been reported across the country. So for me as an individual, going back to your question, I did not find these particular issues so much as a barrier to me because I can actually do any other thing that any other person can do, access any other facility that anybody can access. But then it is very, very important that policy makers, the government, come up with measures to ensure that our education system, the infrastructure, is inclusive so that any person, any child with disability can have access to education without any barriers.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you say the government should look into policies or educational institutions, what does that look like in practical sense?
In practical sense, yes. What that looks like is that, okay, there are very many studies that have been done and of having an inclusive environment or maybe having an inclusive system of education. And much of it goes into putting proper infrastructure, especially buildings, ensuring that we have ramps. Maybe if you have people, students who have got who are vision impairment, that you have electronic kind of infrastructure that can be enabled them to access education. People have got hearing impairment. They have facilities that can enable them to hear or maybe use braille for the blind and things like that. So these are the systems that the government should put in place. Unfortunately, we have very good policies in Kenya.
Wow.
Very, very good policies, very progressive policies that are meant to drive inclusion, but implementation is a challenge. So for me, I would maybe implore the government and policymakers that we should just try to implement these particular policies and put system in place to ensure that children with special needs are able to access education just like any other person. Because for me, I believe everything is there. The foundation is there. What remains is just implementation. And that one depends on the goodwill of the government and people who are in positions of power to influence or to ensure that these things are put in place so that children with special needs are not disadvantaged.
That's interesting to say that.
Yeah.
And just to break down some of the things, I just want to get to know, are there any barriers that you encountered as a person that had nothing to do with your ability, but everything to do with the system and the environment you were in? Because that will help the government identify, okay, we need this and this in place, or we have policies in place, but how about looking into this more?
Okay, to be sincere, that's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
To be sincere, if there were any barriers that maybe might have been there, then I think those barriers could have been experienced by everybody, including maybe yourself. And so if there are any barriers which you might have identified during those particular times, then those could be the same barriers, maybe I can say. But in terms of because...
Also, this looks into your advocacy work, because you've done a lot of advocacy for persons with disabilities. Have you seen any kind of barriers that limits them, that has nothing to do with their abilities, but actually the system itself and the environment?
Yeah, that is very true. That is a good question. I think the barriers that exist are more of institutional and structural, rather than individual barriers. Like now, when we are talking about, for example, when we are talking about employment, there's this provision of 5% that is reserved for persons with disability. That is something that is in the Constitution that the government should be doing, but they are not doing that. Yeah? If you look at, I was looking at some studies that I think was by a Public Service Commission, which is actually responsible for employing public servants. Only about 1.2% of the total workforce, I think it's about 1 or 0.1 something of the total workforce is composed of persons with disabilities. This is against the 5%.
Wow.
So if you look at maybe the hiring processes, then the hiring processes do not conform with the realities of the dictates of the Constitution. So here is where the major problem is. So if barriers which are there are maybe institutional and systematic in terms of the systems that are in place people are not making them work to ensure that there is proper inclusion as envisaged by the Constitution and as desired by persons with disabilities.
Yeah, it's interesting the way we have policies in place, but the implementation is an issue.
Yes.
And this does not go through in terms of disabilities, but I think it's across the board.
It cuts across, yes.
Yeah. So what kept you going? What kept you going, even though there's a path that was not designed for you? What kept you going?
I think what kept me going was my desire to be a better person, to achieve what maybe my parents did not achieve, and to make the world a better place than I found it. I think those have been my true motivations, that I want to be an example to demystify the myths we are talking about, to make some change and to create a world better than I found it. So those are my driving points, or maybe driving forces, the things that are driving me and keeping me going.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now let's go to you being a Fulbright, Commonwealth, and a Chevening scholar. These are quite highly competitive opportunities, right?
Yes.
And we currently have our Form 4s who just did their exams, got their results. And I think so many people right now are looking into opportunities. Yes. How did this journey start for you?
Okay, I think this journey started. Okay, my first scholarship was like the ones we are mentioning here, the Chevening scholarship. That was also in 2018, 2019. So it started by, there's a friend of mine who actually won that Chevening scholarship in 2016, 2017. So while he was going for his studies in the UK, he invited me for a send-off party. So from there, then I got interested into, okay, I think I can also do this thing. I want to apply next year.
Okay.
So that's how it started. So when I was seeing my friend off, I started looking at the Chevening website and looking at, okay, what are the requirements? Do I meet them? And things like that. Fortunately for me, I met almost all the requirements. So what was remaining was for me to put my application. Because you can have the requirements, but if you don't show up, then you won't get the opportunities. So one of the things is that if you see an opportunity and you want to go for it, you have to show up yourself, and you have to do your background and check, do you meet the qualifications, what are needed, do you have those things in place? If you don't have them in place, then you have to prepare and put them in place so that when that time reaches, then you can jump on it. So that's how it started. So I applied in 2017. I was lucky. That was my first time. When I applied it, I got it.
Wow.
So I was invited for an interview. I went for an interview and I passed and I got it and I went for my studies. Then came back in 2020 after my studies at Bristol. Came back in 2020 during COVID. I went back to work. Found when I was working with Safaricom by then. So Safaricom gave me like a sabbatical leave. So I went back to work when I came back. So in 2021, I saw an opportunity with Fulbright. And then I applied again. It was my first time applying. I was lucky again to be invited for an interview. I went for that interview. I passed. I got actually for Chevening, we were around 800 people who applied in Kenya during that particular time.
Wow.
And they picked 25.
Okay.
So I was among the 25.
Okay.
Now, in 2022, when I was going for Fulbright, from the information we got, we were about 1,400 people who applied.
Wow.
But they only picked 3. So I was among the 3, myself and some 2 ladies. So that one tells you how competitive these things are. So you have to put yourself and your best foot actually forward. You have to do your homework well. Once you identify that this is the opportunity I want to go for, you have to put actually your full force into it. Because if you don't do that, there are very many people some of them are even better than me. But I was lucky sometimes to get in and they remain. So these things are very competitive. And people are applying for them. People have met actually all the qualifications and they are good. And so sometimes how you present yourself, how you write your essays, how you put your things determines that how you will be, whether you will be picked and whether you will be not dropped. So it depends on how you put yourself and how you put your things together.
We always say luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So there's nothing like luck. There's a lot of hard work into it.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a lot of work that is invincible that we see people achieving, but there's a lot of preparation and process that goes into it when it comes to such applications. I'd love to hear from you what the process looked like and how the preparation looked like. Maybe for someone who's also interested in that, what were the quick wins? What made you have that competitive edge over other competitors?
Okay. I think for one, as I said before, you have to know your act, know the field. For example, when I was going for my master's in the UK at Bristol, I applied for a master's in public policy. So you need to know the field which we want to go into. And like for Chevening, now just as you requested, so that we can elaborate further for people who might be interested to actually know, for Chevening, there are priority areas which the UK government is working towards in Kenya. So you'll find that maybe this particular year, their major priority are in maybe governance issues, for example. So that one goes hand in hand with maybe public policy, which I identified, that was my area of interest. So once I identified that, then I had to look at, okay, what are the things that are maybe major things that are taking place. During that particular time, there are a lot of reforms that has been taking place in Kenya for the last like over 10 years. And so that particular field was very, very relevant. So I had to go in to identify, okay, what is the British government doing? Like for me, I was interested in like political reforms, public policy issues, political reforms and things like that. So when I was now doing my essays, because that is where the real thing is, I had to ensure that what I was writing and putting into that particular application reflect what the Kenya government is doing in partnership with the UK government in the area of governance, political reforms, and things like that. Because yes, you might be interested in that, but if you don't articulate it well and make it align with the priority areas and what is happening between the UK government and the Kenyan government, then you can find yourself out of the rail and missing the opportunity. So, and it took me like about almost 6 months.
Wow.
Just writing those particular, because they are always the same questions.
Yeah.
So it took me like about 6 months writing, researching what is the Kenya government doing in partnership with the UK in relation to governance and political participation, representation, and all things like that. But as public policy. If you can remember, I told you that I got interested into this when I was seeing off my friend who was going.
Yeah.
So it was like 1 year. I had like a period of about 1 year to prepare for this. So it is not something that you wake up today and you go tomorrow and you think that you might, you might be lucky, yes, but it needs proper preparation. So I took like about close to 8 months just working on those particular, my essays, doing the research to ensure that they align and putting everything in place and sharing with other friends, including this friend who went to, this friend of mine, to see and to proofread for me and to make the essays actually look good. So it takes a lot. Sometimes I could even sleep at around midnight working on this, because at that particular time I was also working. So after work is when I could concentrate on maybe these other things. So I could sometimes the whole of my weekends could be spent just working on those particular things. So as you said, yes, it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and also for you to put into something that eventually you end up succeeding.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you talk about that, because I remember when I was applying for Atlas Core. People think it's something that happened out of the blues, but actually I put in work for 2 good years before I could actually get an acceptance or an interview at the organization. So that's very true. So you need to actually prepare for these opportunities, prepare your work well, be able also to reach out to people who have gone there before so that they can guide you and mentor you with the process. Yeah, let's talk now about excelling. You go to the US, you've done your course, you've gone there, you've graduated, and now it's transition time. So a lot of times, one thing I saw, there's a lot of focus on transitioning into work, into the place. Like if, for example, you're in the US, there's a lot of transition talks and guidance on how to get work and transition into the US. But one thing I saw, there was no focus about international students who want to transition and come back home. And this space of transitioning now, coming back home, you've gone there, you have gained new perspectives, you have been introduced to a new system, and now you're coming back home. And I've seen a lot of challenges for people who have taken time off, especially as mid-level career person. Yes, this is a very tough and difficult decision, because you're stepping away from work, first of all, and then sacrificing almost 2 years, because some of the policies we were talking about is you have to be a full-time student. There's no way you can be a part-time student as an international student. So that are just some of the downsides of taking some time off to go and, pursue an opportunity as a mid-level career person. This puts you in such a situation whereby there are a lot of challenges when you come back home, right? I'm just thinking of, first of all, the positions you are applying for do not fit you anymore. Now you're in a different space looking for, narrower positions. And a lot of people find themselves in a space of tough systems whereby yes, you've gone there, your perspective has changed, but the system still remains the same when you come back home.
Yes.
Now coming back home, what lessons have you learned? What would you do different? Yes, because that's something a lot of people are really going through. Like, did I make the right choice? Or stepping away, did it retrogress me or progress me? What would you say?
Okay, that's a very, very good question, because I find myself in exactly what you are trying to, the question you are just trying to ask. Yeah, transitioning, like having taken that first step of going, maybe you are working, like for my case, I was working, and then I left the job, go to study, and now I'm back. First, it's kind of like trying to venture into uncharted territory or something like that, because now going, because this leaving a job and going, that is now one thing together, because the opportunity is there and that's why you are going. But now coming back, now there are very many challenges. What we have to know is that today will not be the same as tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true.
Things change. And so sometimes you might have left maybe Kenya or your country under certain conditions. But when you come back, you find things totally change. A good example, when we were going to the US, this US aid was still working. And US aid was a major fund of very many programs, even in governments, like even in Kenya, and very many projects. And now all of a sudden, Trump comes in, and everything goes.
The administration changes, yes.
And everything goes. And that thing has made the job market, not only in Kenya, but globally, to be a problem.
Yes.
Even the UN now is cutting down on roles because the US has refused to fund some of the programs they were funding. So you see such things. So it makes like the job environment totally diluted. So you might go under favorable conditions, but when you come back, you find things are very different. And so now joining on finding a place to step in now becomes a challenge. Now, what I will do differently, I don't know whether there's anything I will say, because as I said before, today will be totally different from tomorrow.
Yes, that's true.
And this year will be totally different from next year. So things might change, that even things that you are hoping that will still remain constant, still you find that things are changing. So I don't know if there is any other thing that I will say I will do differently, but what I will maybe say that if maybe, I don't know, maybe if somebody has got a better job, then if you want to study, maybe you go for advanced degrees. If it is not something that is a must that you have to go outside the country, then you better just do it here. You can do your studies part-time while you maintain your job. But if you are somebody who is still in his earlier career, maybe you've not ventured into work properly, you still have some time, then that one is good. You can just go explore, get new perspectives, get that Western education,
and then come back. Okay.
But even if you come back, transitioning it entails a lot of things. I can remember sometimes when I came back, when I was driving, I'll find myself driving the opposite side.
Oh, yes.
So you see, like in Kenya, we drive on the right. In the US, they drive on the left.
On the left.
So when I came back,
interchange.
So those are some of the things you find yourself like totally kind of trying to cope up with the new environment or things like that. So those are things that are there. But if somebody is planning or is outside there and is planning to come back, you need to find yourself planning ahead.
Yeah,
like maybe if I go to the nitty-gritty things, plan ahead, like even how you want to come and live for maybe the first 1 year without having any other challenges like of rent and things like that. Because those are things that are there, especially if you don't have a steady source of income, or maybe you've not gotten an appointment or like a job or job offer or something like that. So those are some of the challenges, maybe a few challenges that I can say people are transitioning from that particular side, now coming back, will need to be aware of. What can you do so that when you come back, even as you look for some job, then you have some sort of a smooth landing. So how you can sustain yourself during those particular period when a seamless kind of transition when you're still looking for opportunities and to get something to do.
I do agree. Planning, it's quite critical.
Yes.
But also, there are certain things, for example, like you said, like there was a change in administration. So that actually affected the workforce and also the funding and downsizing. And these are just some of the things that you encounter. And some of them are seasonal.
Yes.
Because I remember at some years back, we had the same thing. And this was a program known as Fanikisha. And it was the same administration that came. And it was discontinued just indefinitely because maybe priorities have changed for the new administration. So these are just some of the key challenges that come in. But one of the key principles, I think you've mentioned that is very critical. It's about planning ahead and making sure that you are able to sustain yourself. You are able actually to get opportunities from there. Better still, if you can get an opportunity from there and just transition coming here, that will be quite easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another important thing that I was kind of forgetting, just to add on that, when you are outside there or when you go outside there and now it's time to come back, you should have an open mindset.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah, I would advise such people to have a very open mindset that not that if now they have acquired that education that things will be smooth. No, you should have a very open and very rebel mindset and be able to take on the challenges as they come and be ready maybe to do anything that they can do at that when what they will find at that particular time. Some which might not even be necessarily equivalent or maybe to what maybe the skills and things like that you have acquired. So people just have a mindset that an open mindset, not a fixed mindset that things are going to work for me just because now you are from the US or from the UK or from Europe or whatever. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree. But from the hindsight, let's just look at it from apart from the new perspective. I look at it as new networks you have gained, reinventing yourself. I love the way you've said open-minded. Don't think I was here before, so I have to come back to the same place. I was in this organization before, I have to come back to the same place. You can reinvent yourself based on the new environment, the new networks that you have. Please keep them. They're very critical.
True. I agree 100%.
How has your lived experiences shaped how you show up professionally and a decision maker?
My lived experiences, I think, as I said earlier when we were starting this, has shaped me to be who I am. First, I'm not judgmental.
Okay.
And first, I give people time to be who, or maybe for me to maybe to learn more about them, or maybe to know more about them. And that I think has been, and I always try to make like friends and maintain friends. And that those particular kind of like principles have been also instrumental in who I am and even how I make my decisions. And as I said before also, I'm so much interested in what I'm doing to make myself better, to make the society better. So anything that I will do or that I plan to do, I consider those particular key things first. And then I look at, okay, I cannot do them myself. there are opportunities that you can have that I have to come to you for me to get those opportunities. That one tells me that I have to create some good networks with the people who can signpost me to different opportunities and things like that. Because in the current system that we are in and in the world, no one can succeed by him or herself. You have
That's true.
You have to succeed through people. People have to, the effort that you put must also reach out to people, your networks, your family, friends, and things like that, is when you can succeed. So every decision that I make to go for something, I have to consult. After maybe doing my part, I have also to consult. I have to reach out to people. I have to do a lot of things for me to actually to succeed. So my lived experiences, staying with my family, staying with the community, developing those particular leadership skills, networking skills at that particular lower level, is what has made me to be the person I am today, which I think are key and things that people can also maybe learn from, or maybe take keen interest in, to see how they can develop themselves, or parents, how they can develop their children, and to ensure that they come up to be responsible people.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. We've talked about systems adapting inclusion, right?
Yeah.
And I do know sometimes we can influence systems rather than adapt to them. Are there instances where you find yourself influencing systems?
Yes, I have influenced systems.
That will be interesting, so that we can also...
One of the things that many people do not know, I was part of the selected team who are part of this 2010 Constitution Making Conference.
Oh, really?
And this thing we called 5% representation for persons with disability was actually my proposal in Nakuru. Though my proposal was 10%, but it was, such things have got a lot of things. I can remember me proposing that thing in a conference that we had in Nakuru with the Constitution Making Commission when they met persons with disabilities across Kenya in Nakuru. Another thing, when I went to the UK, by the way, when I went to the UK at the University of Bristol, I was the first elected international students officer where I was representing students. In that institution, some of the changes that I can say, I loved when we had already passed a policy to establish what we call like English centers where international students could go to know how to do academic writing. So that is also influencing policy or maybe systems. Those are things which I've done. In Safaricom, where I was working, I was part of a team which in the diversity and inclusion team. Actually, my boss who actually came up with the initiatives that increased the representation or the hiring of persons with disabilities in Safaricom. So if you are talking about influencing systems, I think I've contributed into that, and I'm looking into doing that more in the future.
That's very interesting. How do you think we can learn from you on how to influence systems, especially in workplace?
I think workplace changes, workplaces, organizations have got their rules, their norms and way of doing things. And sometimes it's very difficult to change systems in organization. But it is possible.
Yeah.
It's very, very possible. What ones need to know is to see what is not working.
Okay.
Once you have identified what is not working and you are passionate about on how to make it work, then who are the right people whom you can talk to to ensure that, to sell out the idea to them, to preach your idea to them and tell them, I'm seeing this thing is not working.
Okay.
And I feel if we can do it this way, it can work and make it better. Because organizations sometimes there are a lot of resistance in change in organizations. So it will depend on the skills that you have,
Mm.
the persuasion skills, maybe, how you present an idea, how the networks that you have, how you present ideas to your seniors and people who have got those decision-making authority. So, as I said, once you identify something that is not working, if you are my boss and I've identified something that is not working, then how do I approach you? Do I have some good relationship with you? How do I represent my idea on how this can be done to be better? Once I'm able to win you, then you'll be able to carry this particular suggestion of mine to the next level. And it will move just to the next level. And they will be able to see that, okay, this system is not working, but there's this good suggestion that has been suggested that can make this thing to be better or to work better. So that's how we change systems. Identifying the problem and finding a better way to make it work and selling that particular better way to the next person who is maybe your boss, maybe the head of department, on how that thing can be made better. So if you are able to do that, then you are able to influence systems and to make change.
I do agree. And I'm just looking like in organizations currently, diversity, inclusion, these are key things. Do you think there are places where still inclusion is still something that is missing and should be addressed?
Yes, especially in Kenya, inclusion is missing everywhere.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yes, everywhere.
That's interesting to know.
Even in the transport system, you just see how the transport system is.
Oh yeah, that's I totally agree. Yes, so I totally agree.
It is missing everywhere. And so, as we said, there are policies. Last year, President Ruto assented to the disability law, the new Disability Act, which actually is even more improved than the 2003 Act, which was not all that elaborate. And the public service has tried. I've seen them trying to say that they want to make inclusion work. So the policies are there. The implementation is the challenge, in terms of employment, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of almost everything.
That's interesting to know.
And so, we need to have goodwill of the key decision makers in organizations. When we talk about employment, like in organization, it should just come naturally that, okay, fine, this year we are planning to hire, for example, 20 people. 5% of these 20 people should be reserved for persons with disabilities. And persons with disabilities in Kenya are qualified. There are thousands of them who are qualified to work.
That's true. I cannot testify to that.
The systems that are in place are not willing to give them opportunity for reasons best known to them. Because if we are talking about policies there, this thing of inclusion is even in the Constitution of Kenya. So nobody should play around it. They should be able to implement it so that inclusion can be seen to be done in every sector. When we're talking about buildings, you go to some buildings that if you try to access them when you are a person with disability, maybe on a wheelchair, you'll not be able to access them. Because maybe you want to go maybe to second floor, third floor, the lifts are not there, the lifts are not working, so you cannot go. In the public transport, there need to be like a system where even people with disabilities or people who are in wheelchairs, things like that, can easily access the public infrastructure, transport infrastructure system. Most of our infrastructure is not disability or it's not inclusive.
Yeah, that's true.
You go to like even facilities like washrooms, you find buildings which are not inclusive in terms of having inclusive washrooms where people with the disabilities, some types of disability can access. So if I do an audit of the Kenyan system from the political angle down to everywhere, inclusion, though we have policies that are championing this, but inclusion is not adequately addressed in our system. And this calls for leadership and goodwill of the people who are charged with the responsibilities to ensure that inclusion is actually achieved.
That's interesting. How about globally?
Globally, interestingly, I'm in some online class with an institution which I will not mention. And in Europe. And I'm doing a course on disability and inclusion. And the majority of people in that class are in that particular country or in Europe. The stories we are getting about inclusion in that particular country or in Europe is kind of similar with what is in Kenya.
Okay.
But what I can say the difference is that the systems there work. Only that there are a few challenges that are still which I think those people they are still experiencing. Compared to Kenya, yes, they can say there are some sort of similarities, but the Kenyan case, I think, is extreme. We need to just up our game as a country and ensure that inclusion is achieved.
And that is towards the government directive, ensuring that it's not just about coming up with policies,
yes,
but also implementing the policies that we have.
Yes.
And there's this book that we are currently reading, and I find it quite interesting, The Humanized Leader by Dr. Martin Oduor.
Okay.
And one thing that really stood out for me as we were reading is he talked about diversity and inclusion representing all stakeholders, right? But it's not just about representing all stakeholders, but ensuring their voice is heard.
Yes.
And also their voice is taken into consideration when they're coming up with solutions. So when you're looking at inclusion, beyond, policies, beyond accommodations, beyond statements, because each one of us, if you apply for a job anywhere, there's always a statement for diversity and inclusion. Everyone does that.
Yes.
And you consent to that, right? So what does inclusion look like beyond policies, beyond statements, beyond accommodation?
A good question. A very, very good question. Just as you said when you were talking, inclusion should go beyond statements, beyond policy, by actually people who are in the decision-making platforms or positions, giving different people with different voices or backgrounds an opportunity for their voices to be heard and for implementation to be done. It's not just a matter of just having a policy of, let's say, for example, of employment, or for example, of, let's say, the 30% procurement for youth, women, and things like that.
Yes, that's true.
We need to see youths being actually given those tenders. That is now what we call inclusion, not just having them that, okay, we have a policy, or maybe when tenders are advertised, and this one is reserved for maybe women, this is reserved for youth. But when now the actual thing comes, you find that people who win even those tenders are not youths, are not women. And and if there are, then there's a lot of biasness in terms of people who are being given these particular opportunities. Like now, because I'm in a position of authority where I can influence, I'll influence this thing to go to person A because person A is my relative or is my friend or things like that. Yeah. We need to have like a system where when we are talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, if person A merits and deserves that particular thing, give him, regardless of his ethnic background, his disability status, his gender, his religion, and things like that. So that when now we are having like, we as an organization, we can say we are diverse in terms of representation, in terms of, let's say, disability, women, culture, tribe, religion, and things like that. All these voices are represented and they are given opportunity for their voices to be heard. Because it's another thing to bring people together. Like, for example, bringing women in you say that your organization is gender sensitive or gender parity in the organization, but women are not getting promoted or they're not having the same equal pay like men, and they are doing the same job. Then what are we talking about? It means we are just talking about diversity and inclusion, but we are not speaking the spirit and we are not implementing what it's supposed to. We are not doing what is supposed to be done. So we need to also ensure that if opportunities for inclusion are there, then people are given fair treatment and people are not charged or misjudged based on various things. Yes.
How does that look like? For example, here in Kenya, when we speak about inclusion?
As I said, okay,
given the complex environment that we are in.
as I said before, okay, some progress has been made, but if I'm to maybe quantify that in terms of a percentage, or maybe in a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is the least and 5 is the highest, then Kenya can say we are still at 1. Or maybe we are moving towards 2.
Okay.
Yes, but which means a lot needs to be done to ensure that we have an inclusive society where everybody else feels inclusive, both across the board, whether in terms of gender, whether in terms of disability, ethnicity, all those particular aspects of diversity and inclusion. For us to say that we are a very diverse country, yes, very, very diverse, but in terms of now preaching that, or maybe saying that we are truly diverse and inclusive, Kenya is still not.
We are still in progress, right?
We are starting. And we are starting the journey. Yeah. That's what I can say. That is my own honest opinion.
Wow. We have a lot to do as a country.
Yes.
And also our leaders have a lot to do. We need policies.
No, we don't need policies.
We need
action.
And we need implementation of the policies that are there.
Yes.
In the MOYO wheel. So for our final nugget of wisdom, we have spin the MOYO wheel. So you'll basically spin the wheel, and where it lands, there's a question that I will ask you.
Okay.
I just need you to speak from the heart.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can spin the wheel and let's see where it lands.
So I spin.
So let's spin the wheel. TN3.
TN3. Okay.
So TN means then and now.
Then and now. Okay.
Then and now.
Okay.
Wow, this is quite
interesting.
Okay. I know you have a lot on this.
Okay.
So then versus now. Then I thought growth was. Now I know growth is.
Yeah, very interesting one. Okay, then I can say, I don't know where to put this then, but what I can say then, I thought that growth entailed maybe having a good job.
Wow. Like most of us think.
Yes. But now, or maybe having a good education. But now, I feel that having a good job and having education, yes, is good, but it's not everything. There's more into life. And sometimes you can have a good job, but you are not happy. Sometimes you can have a good education, but you don't have a job. So there are very many things that, like initially, sometimes I even thought like, okay, like there are sometimes I was thinking like, then I was thinking, if this person is maybe this way, why is it that he doesn't act this way? Or he's not this way or something like that. There's some situation where you can find yourself asking, but I thought if somebody is working, for example, then he should have this kind of lifestyle. But you find that it is totally different. Yeah? So that's why you are asking, why is it that he's working and his lifestyle is this way? Meaning there's more into life. So I've come to realize that there's more into life than just what maybe people might think that, okay, now you've gotten, like, for example, what we're discussing here, we've gotten a Western kind of education. Now things will work on, things will well now. there's still a lot that one has to do for him or her to succeed. So that's what I can say about that. Yeah. Yes.
That's interesting, because I think for most of us, we've been brought up to think that go to school, get good grades, get a good career, and you'll be very successful in life. But as you grow, you realize, well, that's not how life works, right?
Exactly.
And especially given the fact that we live in two different, do I say, contexts? What probably my parents' generation and our generation are very different.
Correct.
The challenges we're facing in this current context is very different from what they had.
Yes.
Maybe for them it worked,
yes,
but for us, it's totally different. And yes, I do agree with you.
I agree. Thanks. You've also brought it very, very well. Yeah, I do agree.
Thank you so much, Julius. It was such an honor to have you here.
Okay.
And thank you for your nuggets of wisdom.
Thank you.
Yes.